Yo, what up, 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 what up? We on live right now. We're live. 10 seconds in. What's up, everybody? We are live. Hey, if you're not on IG and I start jamming, it's because I got music playing. We're streaming live right now on what are we streaming live on? Facebook. We have to share Facebook page on YouTube and now on the Joel David Barnes Instagram. And welcome to week 2. It's week 2, guys. We made it to week 2. 2 weeks in a row now. Doing something consistent. My name is Joel Barnes. I'm just jumping on here every day at 1:30 to let people know that they're not alone. There's going to be a myriad of things we do talk about. I always try to think of like fun things to figure out. I'm sorry right now. I feel like I look tired. I think I am tired. I didn't sleep super great last night. But then when I did sleep, I had these dreams. I had a dream that was so cool. It was like I was running errands. That's all I was doing. But I was running around and I was like not in pain, and it was great. It was great. But anyways, so we're here live every day, Monday through Friday at 1:30. I'm just trying to show up. I'm just trying to put something out there, positive into the world. And we got a few things to talk about today. I've sent out some messages asking like what people want to talk about, what people want to hear and discuss. And I got some good feedback back, and I'm going to start adding that into some of the programming stuff. But today, the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to give a quick kind of health update about me. So many of you guys know that I have had 3 knee surgeries. Started with a pretty simple, supposed to be a simple mastectomy. Start saying ectomies, and that sounds a little bit weird. But mastectomy is basically they go in and they shave part of your meniscus. It was a simple meniscus surgery. And then I've had now 3, and something happened. Something happened in there. Something happened at some point in there where something didn't go exactly right. We don't know, not 1,000% sure what's going on. Still, what's going on in there. And what we do know is that I'm still in a ton of pain, and then it seems as if I have developed a pain syndrome called CRPS. And CRPS is kind of a nightmare if you Google it. It's basically kind of a pain syndrome that can it's often triggered by surgery, and then it kind of follows up from it kind of comes downhill from there, where it can spread to other joints. And anyways, this is not the Good News and Company show that I want to talk about, but I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to continue. There's a lot of people praying for me, and since there are people praying for me, I feel like it's really important for me to update people on what's going on with things. And so all of your prayers have been received, and all of our prayers have been received. That's clear because that's God's promise. Some of the things that we've prayed for specifically haven't happened yet, but I'm confident that they will. And then also in the meantime, I'm very confident that that this season is very purposefully placed in my life for me to navigate pain in a new way, navigate an understanding of chronic pain, maybe. And so, that's something that I think that is going to end up being a takeaway, and has been a takeaway so far. But prognoses and moving forward on all that kind of stuff is kind of unclear. I was supposed to be cleared for some shots in my spine to help with the pain, because it's kind of like my left leg is kind of a mess. It's like it swells, and it's not just pain in my knee anymore. It's also kind of spread to my sciatic nerve and my hip. And so we're just praying for either of those shots to get approved or whatever is going to happen to help get me out of pain. It's pretty painful to sit. I am on a pillow right now on one side so that I'm not like on the that runs through my left hip. And so that's that. There's things that are coming up on August 14th or April 14th. They're going to evaluate to see if I need a knee replacement. And so we're just praying that however that turns out, that it just be something that can help to get me out of pain. And that's kind of all I want to do and talk about that. I want to just give a quick update about that. Also, I had the vaccine last Friday. I wanted to kind of give some updates about that, especially for someone that's having some anxiety around getting it or whether or not to get it when it comes up for you. I had some, some shoulder pain, but nothing crazy, nothing like it was just like getting a flu shot. It kind of felt like getting a flu shot, maybe a little bit stronger. The prick was fine, obviously, but my shoulder was a little bit numb. And to be honest with you, I was kind of happy about it. To be honest with you, I was like, oh, look, I got pain somewhere else. I got a little bit of discomfort somewhere else. But I don't think it was bad. I did feel a little bit tired and take a nap or two over the weekend. And that because, hey, you know what? Not just am I introducing, COVID-19 to my body and my body's trying to figure that out, but I also got some stuff going on with stuff like that. It may have been draining me a little bit more because my body's just in a fight. So anyways, that's that, but not bad. Nothing crazy, no crazy side effects, nothing. And I know shot one, I haven't heard a ton of that, but I just wanted to encourage you guys. If you're kind of on the fence about getting it or not, at least side effects wise, it's not my place to say do it or not do it or whatever it is. It's not, hey, I'm doing it because it's a decision that I've made for me, my family. It's a decision that I made as a person that's in contact with other people, whether it's in ministry or whatever the future holds for me in work. And I just want to make sure that I'm that my body's covered and we're handled. So that's that. Not a political thing. Just got an update. No super side effects on the vaccine, and that was good. But the next thing that I want to kind of talk about today, which I thought was it was an interesting thought for me because I have a 13-year-old and there's a lot of I actually wrote this post as if I was writing it to parents, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the value of this topic just in general for all people. And so for me, one thing that has come up a lot, your kids end up being this mirror, right? To hold they hold up a mirror to who you are so many times. And because kids are sponges, you hear it all the time. There's the kid, play a little bit of music maybe. There's a kid that starts saying the bad words on the playground when he's 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or whatever it is, and everyone's like, oh, that's so cute, but where'd he get it? It's coming from the kids, right? And so often, you take that concept, the concept of kids are sponges, and then what I think is really interesting about being a parent is that it literally holds a mirror up to you. You can see so many parts of yourself, so many things that you do. And I take that as an experience that I want to share, not just as a parent, but just as a human being. And when and in this past season, this past year, I feel like the mirror has been held up a lot because I've seen things, for better or for worse, that have kind of shown up in my kid, right? And I think that I can say that for things that I know that are inside of me and things that I know that are not. So I know that she's getting them from other stimuli in her environment. But what's really interesting about it is I made this post and I thought about, we are, such a health conscious, conscious, read the label society. We always want to know what's inside of it. If there's, I have a friend who's celiac, so she's got to know if like there's gluten in it because it could actually make her sick. And there's people that are like lactose intolerant. I'm one of them. And I got to know, is there dairy in it because it's going to make me sick? And there's just people in the world, right? You just want to know what's in it. You just want to know what's in it. And even if it's not, you want to know exactly what's in it. Like, what's it taste like, right? Oh no, I don't like dill. It's a flavor, it's something that I don't know. I don't like. So because of that, I know that that's an ingredient that I'm not really going to jive with very well. But we're so conscious about all these other things that, especially around food, right? Food seems to be like one that we're pretty meticulous about. Pretty meticulous about figuring out what's inside the food, what's it going to end up doing to our body. Is there too much sugar? Is there whatever? But are we doing the same thing for what's inside of us? And this is so yesterday I posted, and it was just kind of like this random culmination of thought that I'm gonna go ahead and mute the the commercial. But so this right here is a post that I posted yesterday, and I'll make it a little bigger. I posted this post yesterday, and so if you're on Instagram, you can't see it, but I'll read it to you. I'm gonna read it to you right now. So I posted this yesterday, and when I posted this yesterday, I thought it felt like it was writing it to parents, but it's kind of like a nutritional facts label, and then over it, I kind of placed, how is it that you know more about what's in your cereal than what's in your heart? That was a picture, and then the caption I can read as well, which is what I wrote, but I don't think that this is a particularly original thought. But I said to parents, and again, I'm opening this up to all of us, to everyone. The more and more and more I thought about it, I had just had an interaction where I was like, that's something that's in my kid that I know I'm responsible for. And I'm not even going to say whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, because that's irrelevant. It was more about the fact that what's inside of her is something that I know is inside of me. And because it's inside of me, did I even know that thing was inside of me? Am I looking at the nutritional facts? Am I looking at how much vitamin D is in it? How much vitamin B? How much, if there's gluten or not? And so I said, parents, I don't try to give advice too often. And I'm going to scratch that and say, hey, to anybody, I don't really try to give a whole lot of advice too often. But I just have an experience that I want to share. Go figure, right? I said the word share. If you don't not only heal, but explore the things that are inside of you, you will pass it on to your kids. You will pass it on to your friends. You will pass it on to your parents, your relationships. You pass it back to your parents. I think that a lot of stuff comes from the direction of our parents to us, and then from us out to the world. So that's kind of where I got fascinated by this whole topic in the first place. But you will pass it on. You'll pass it on to your coworkers, to your employees, to your employer, for better or for worse. And I think that it's wild that some parents, or some of us, will make sure that our kids' diet is organic, or doesn't have soy, or is healthy, because they want to make sure that they know all the things that are inside their kid and that they're healthy. How are you going to read the label on every food item but never read the label on your own heart? And that's kind of the question for today. I go on to say, what's in there? Like, what's in there? Like, what's in there? What's in there? What's inside of you? You may already know that you have some generational things that you don't want to pass on to your kids, or that you need to wrestle with before you pass it on to your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your wife or your spouse or your husband. But you already may know about some of those things. Some of those things might be traumatic, and so they're big, so you know about them. But hear me out. You can only skate by for so long. I said to your kids about 6, but you can only skate by for so long. And then, wouldn't you rather have done some investigation into your own heart, so that while they are doing the same thing, while other people are doing the same thing in their lives, wouldn't you rather have some sort of idea what's going on inside of your heart before you go out and interact with others? And you got to find out if you have gluten in you, you have soy, don't you be organic and cage free and natural ingredients? Don't you want to be free? I said cage free, and for some reason when I typed out cage free, that stuck out to me, right? Obviously talking about eggs, but and cage-free eggs is like a thing, right? So the birds roam around, and they're treated fairly and justly. But the idea of being cage-free are the things inside of you cage-free, not just the eggs that made your food cage-free. Are the things inside of you cage-free, right? Or if not, what do you got to work? What do you got to do? What do you got to look at? And I want to make sure that I stay not just on the topic of traumatic experiences, because I think that part's easier to digest, that something needs to happen, if that makes sense. It's easier to have. It's very hard to have a trauma. It's very hard to have a traumatic experience. It's very hard to live through trauma, to make it to the other side of trauma, to be going through trauma. So I never want to take anything away from that. But if there's trauma, it's almost naturally we are naturally as creatures more inclined to pay attention to that trauma and say, there's a problem here that I have to fix. And I want to just go to that space, but I want to take a step back and say, what about the people that have things inside of them that they didn't realize were even traumatic, that they didn't know were trauma, or that weren't specifically trauma, but developed something inside of them that caused them to react to other people in a negative way, that caused them to shut out anybody else except for them and their type of people. Something inside of them that taught them. Now, I'm just saying explore, because I think that there's a lot of us that have things inside of us that we never even knew were wrong. I'll be honest with you, and I'll be the one to go first. I actually thought for a long time that the things that I had gone through that were traumatic to me were good for me. Now, and I still kind of think that, but I have to pay attention to the fact that there's a solid part of that that was not good for me. That was not healthy for me. I think that on the other side of some of the traumas, and I'm in the working stage on some of the traumas, but for a long time, I felt like the fact that I've gone through so much stuff and so many hard things, I kind of felt like it was like a superpower, right? Because I've gone through it. Like I see clearly. I don't get emotionally reactive to really traumatic things when they happen right in front of me, because I've seen enough of those things happen, and I have I've been trained that the cooler heads will prevail, and if you can just get to safety, then you'll live. If you can just do exactly what you need to do in that moment, and almost like time stops. And I think that is something that's been inside of me that I'll never shake a stick at, and I'll always be thankful for. And I'm not thankful for the trauma, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to have something to offer in an emergency sometimes. But I can also be very, very, very clear that any of those things that are not like kind of settled, not worked through, not explored, there's hiding places in there. There's hiding places for fear and doubt, and that's where insecurity starts to fester. It's inside of those traumatic experiences where you have to kind of explore. And I think when I say that it's easier to identify, I think that it's easier for us to say, okay, traumatic experience, got to deal with some stuff. I think what's harder for us is for us to actually read the label and get to the point where we're like, hey, this is a percentage of who I am. There's 15% saccharin in this item. Okay, well, I know about how much of the item is saccharin, and I can't remember if saccharin is a real like thing that's in things anymore, or if it's banned. But the point is, if I don't know that it's there, two things happen. And one reason that I wrote this to parents specifically is because what you'll do is you'll unwittingly pass that on to your kids. You'll unwittingly pass the ingredients, or that ingredient kind of like combo to your kids without knowing it, if you haven't explored it and known that it's there. Second thing though, and I say that again, for coworkers, for friends, for relationships, for spouses. But then the second thing though, which I thought was really interesting to kind of stumble across in random thought is that without identifying it in yourself or having the opportunity to identify it in yourself, and without the opportunity to look at yourself and kind of say, here are some things, I think even like the whole picture, like even like saying even the process of being like, hey, there's 15% saccharin in that food item, or there's, for me, not percentages, but hey, there is trauma there. There is defensiveness there that comes up when I feel ashamed of failure because I was made to feel like a failure for a lot of my life in my life by my father. And so if I don't identify the fact that like when I'm in shame, I get defensive. Now, I got to pause and shout out to my friend Christy who turned me on to a lot of this work. You know, here's what I'm going to say about therapy. My friend Christy using the right words to kind of motivate or encourage me towards therapy. Therapy has not been an end all. It has not been a solution. It has given me words around things that I experienced or that I had. And it has, and the most powerful part of therapy for me was just understanding that like the things that I feel are normal. And so that's why I advocate for this exploration. I advocate for people looking into themselves and trying to figure out what's going on inside of you, because if you're able to explore what's going on inside of you, start to identify some things, what you'll end up understanding is not just are you not alone, not just are you not the only one that's doing that's got that thing going on, that it's widespread throughout humans. And then also you'll be able to be in better relationship because you'll be able to identify it in other people. And for parents, I say this as, if you don't know what's going on inside of you, when it comes up inside of your kid, you're not going to be able to like really serve them well. If you don't know what's going on inside of you, you know what I'm saying? If you don't know what's going on inside of you, you don't know, because because it's inevitable that what something about what I have gone through in my life is going to come out and get planted into my kid. Right. And it's not good. I may not want it to, I may not do it intentionally, but one of them, is the way that I sometimes like talk to myself out loud. And so I'll be like, oh, Joel, you idiot, whatever. And I'm hard on myself. I'm really hard on myself. And if you've ever known me, you kind of understand I'm hard on myself because like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. There's no excuse for it always. But I want to do the best that I can to serve people well. I want to do the best that I can, period, at anything that I do. And so I'm hard on myself. My friend Alex, she's telling me, just do it. Even if you're just broadcasting from your couch, you can do this. You can do this idea. You can reach people, even if it's from your couch on your back in pain. Part of the reason why this whole show started. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I don't have a computer that will handle that. And I still don't. I don't have technology. I don't have the experience. I don't have the blah, blah, blah. I could just say all the things that I don't have. And I know that I passed that on to my kid because I can see my kid do the whole thing, the same things. I can see her, instead of saying, we were cleaning the fridge yesterday, and I can see her just like, I don't have what I need to, I don't have the understanding that I need to clean this thing. And instead of like just tinkering with it and us figuring it out, I have a proclivity to kind of err on the side of, I don't have the things that I need to make the thing happen that I envision. And I know that's not even the thing that I said I passed on to her, but I can see those things, right? But if I'm not aware of what's inside of me, then I'm not going to be aware of what I pass on to her. And you won't be aware of what you're passing out into the world either. Like, and because I believe so firmly in relationships, I believe in the notion of sharing, because we have enough. If you're talking about resources and things, we have enough to share, period. But if you want to go the emotional level, we have things that we need to share. We don't share enough emotionally with each other. because what it'll do is all of a sudden you'll start to hear things like, oh, I do that. I have that. I have that laziness. I have that insecurity. I have that power. I have that gift. And what ends up happening is the shame falls away from the things that are negative, and the things that are positive get built up and get more encouraged in your spirit or in your soul when we share. And so for me, in with this particular example, it's important. I say share, 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 share all day. And today I'm saying, part of sharing is knowing what's inside of you and what's going to come out in order to share, right? In order to share in a healthy way, in a responsible way, in an effective way, because it will manifest itself somewhere else in the world if you don't know what's going on inside of you. If I don't know, I've done Wholehearted Living at Soul City Church twice now, and it's a Brene Brown course, and it studies, and you start to look at yourself and say, okay, well, here's something that goes on inside of me when here's something that comes up, right? Like when I get scared, I get angry, or or backwards, you look at the result and say, I got really defensive about that. Why'd you get really defensive about that, Joel? Like it wasn't even that serious. That person, like, I'm a gamer. I've been talking about it, and we're gonna do some live stream gaming stuff eventually. But there have been times where my counterpart or my best friend in DC, I got into gaming because my best friend in DC lives there. I get a chance to get online and just be with him and talk to him. And I've cared less about the games over the course of the years, or the gaming. That's why I'm probably not better than I am, than I have than just having a chance to talk to my best friend. But at some point he said something to me. I can't remember how stupid it was, but I got so offended by it. I was like, that's not who I am. You know what it was, though? He had said something about the way I played, or what I was doing in the game. And to me, it felt like he was saying I was selfish. And you wanted to give trigger word. I'm doing a lot of work on it. So if you're watching this and you're in my future, it may not exactly have the same power over me, because I've been doing a lot of work around it. But in the past, if you were to tell me that I was selfish, oh man, it would set me off like you don't even understand who I am, why I do what I do. I sacrifice for people. And this is probably in one of my I was trying my best to serve other people, and I was not doing a super great job of taking care of myself. And so he didn't just say, "Oh, you do that thing in a video game too much." To me, I heard, "You're selfish and you're only looking out for yourself." And it triggered me. But if I didn't know that trigger was there, if I didn't know that thing was there, if I didn't know that insecurity was there, if I didn't have a chance to explore me. Now, that particular thing is linked back to trauma for me. That particular thing is linked back to shame, and over timelining my life and looking at my life in a bunch of different ways, I've realized that some of that defensiveness comes from being the child of a manipulator who only served himself. I don't want to be looked at as a person that just serves myself. So bad that I will work. I will overwork myself, commit myself, and overextend myself, versus be healthy, have a healthy set of habits, and the confidence to say, man, like, oh, well, you thought I was being selfish. I thought I was serving you well. And literally that's kind of all the conversation. But it took that reactionary Joel and put him in a different place. There's still things that I'll react to, but anything that I react to, I automatically think, what exactly is it that happened here that made me react that way? What was, if it sent me off, how can I be sent off by a person? Like, how can something just completely send me off? What is it about, when I hear hear stupid things on the internet, and I just thought of one, and I'm not even going to share it, but I want to hear stupid things on the internet. What is it that really just pisses me off about it? And is it righteous, or does it need some righteous work around it? Is it something that's healthy? Is it healthy? Is it a righteous indignation for real? A righteous indignation? Is it something that I'm advocating for someone else, or I'm sticking up for someone else, or I'm using my power to leverage for someone else, or I'm using my, my words to advocate for someone else, or, you know, or did I just see my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend post, how faithful she is, and I know that's not true, and I got my feelings hurt, and I'm pissed off, like it's a big difference. But it all starts with being able to kind of look at what the ingredients are in you. If I don't have those, if I don't know my ingredient list, I'm not going to be able to, in a healthy way, pass on healthy ingredients to my kid. You won't be able to pass on healthy ingredients to your relationships, to your work, to the work that you do. And here's the thing, and I'll say it's a double-edged sword, because you will, as you do your work, you will be exposed. You will have eyes to see the work that others need to do too. And there is a grace and a humility that you need from God sometimes to not pass on what you know and throw that onto somebody else as a diagnosis or as a synopsis of them or their behaviors. What you need to understand is that you're doing your particular work, and you're making good on your particular responsibility, and you are being the parent that you know that you should be, and you want to, if you have a co-parent, or you have an co-parent, meaning two single parents parenting, or you don't, or you are in a marriage and you both, parent, and you guys have similar or different roles, all the dynamics can shift or change. But the one that stays the same is that you're responsible for what's inside of you, and knowing what's inside of you, so that you can pass on to your relationship and to your kids healthy ingredients. And that's kind of where it came from. That's kind of where it came from, the whole idea of we're really good at looking at the labels or what's inside something. What we've gotten really good at is we've gotten really good at going on to Amazon and seeing what everybody else says about something. And I think that in a recommendation culture, that's cool. You want it to be vetted by some other people. But some things you're just going to have to figure out on your own. You're going to have to figure out what works for you on your own. And it may not be the same for two people, and it may not be the same for anybody else in the world. And that might be fine. I have had to make some decisions as a parent who, one part of the reason why I'm single is because I have made a decision to parent this way. I have made a decision to parent in a way that I have made some particular sacrifices in order for a lot of different reasons, to be successful in my parenting. And it's a decision and a sacrifice that I've had to make in order to make sure that my responsibility as a parent was ultimately 1000% upheld. And it's a super complicated conversation that I don't really want to get into right now. But the point is, my reality has had to be different. My ingredients have had to be different. I have had to pay more attention to what's inside of what's inside of me, because I just knew that no matter what, it was of the utmost importance that my ingredients were good inside of me, to pass on to my kid, to pass on to my relationships, to pass on to maybe a future relationship that I'm in. And I was out of whack with a lot of that for a long time. I was very dependent on, I took my identity from relationships. Like if if my significant other had a really great opinion of me, they were able to tell me what was inside of me, for better or for worse. There's situations where it's like, man, like this person just tells me the most amazing things about myself, and I love it, and I love feeling it. But the reality is that is now neither here nor there if you don't know what's inside of you, if you don't know where your identity is, if you don't know who loves you, if you don't know the power that you have inside of you, if you don't know, then anyone else can come tell you who it is or tell you what your ingredients are. And so that's it. That's kind of like that. It's an interesting conversation to me. It's an interesting thought that I came across yesterday because we really are so concerned with what everyone else tells us is inside of us, and we're really concerned about even like superficial things. And I don't think health is a superficial thing, but we're really concerned about like what's on the label. Like what's on the label? Oh, what kind of cotton is this made out of? Oh, this is the blend. Oh, this is 400 thread count sheets. Like we're really concerned with all the what's in it things, except for us sometimes, except for like what's inside of us. And maybe it's because maybe because it sucks. Maybe it's because it sucks. It sucks to sit here and try to figure out what's inside of you. It sucks. It sucks. And it's going to bring up things that I don't feel like talking about and I'm too busy to deal with. Then if that's the decision. Then you got to understand, if you make the decision not to explore what's inside of you, then you got to be okay with what comes out and what ends up happening. And I'm not saying that my kid isn't going to turn into a terror one day. Who knows? I don't know. But what I know is now, today, I do my best to put in best. And the only way that I can put in the best is if I am evaluating what's inside me. And if I'm evaluating what's inside me and I understand what's inside of me, and I'm looking at it over and over and over again, and I'm not getting too comfortable, and I'm not taking the train of thought that my mom had or my dad had or my ancestors had, and I'm not just kind of automatically on autopilot funneling that out into the world. If I'm reevaluating, I literally will reevaluate anything. Always. You can ask anybody. I have reevaluated my relationship with Jesus 1,000 times, and 1,000 times I have made a decision to be in that relationship. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't think that I don't hear it when someone talks about crazy Christians? I agree when people talk about crazy Christians. To be honest, I agree with how closed-minded we can be sometimes. I agree to the point where I don't even really want to be called a Christian. I just want to be called a person who loves Jesus, period. Because hey, I swear and I do bad things and my heart is changing and I'm getting better, but I'm a work in progress. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not better than anybody. I don't have it figured out better than anybody. I do this show with the anticipation that one day it's not my show anymore. One day it's just good news and company. And one day it's just a space to hang out and talk to each other and have a good time. And, I'm excited for this week. On Thursday, we have a guest coming on. My friend Cynthia Alvaro's coming on. She's she does the blog Mom is Winning. And, and she just does a great job. She does a great job with being positive, being honest, being real, being open. I said, Mike Todd says humble, open, and transparent. I'm going to say humble, open, honest, and transparent, which is still hot. And the reason why I add honest is because it is a challenge to be honest. It's a challenge. You could probably go back to the beginning of this broadcast and hear how hard it was for me just to be honest about the fact that I'm tired because I didn't sleep because of pain. I'm tired. It's hard for me to be honest about the fact that I'm still in pain because I want to give y'all good report so bad. I want to show up with good news so bad. But here's the thing. I think that it's ultimately going to be good news. I think that the committing to being honest and open and transparent is good news. And if that is now me kind of going over some stuff that I've had to deal with, hey man, like, yo, I'm in the middle of it. but I'm not going to be in the middle of it always. You know, I'm in the middle of it and I'm in a ton of pain every single day. And I'm getting ready to, I can feel my body getting to the end of when I can even sit up vertically. And I'm going to go take a nap and I'm going to go lay down. And I'm in the middle of it today. And I'm not going to be in the middle of it tomorrow. And tomorrow doesn't mean Tuesday. Tomorrow means in my next season. And the way that I carry myself and the way that I operate today will directly affect my next season. I know that. I know the way that if I fight to keep my head up, if I fight to keep my head up when I want to quit, when I want to put my head down, when I want to feel sorry for myself, when I am just over it. I had a day on Saturday, I was just over it. I didn't want to do anything because I was just over being in pain. But I know that my pain's going to give way to my health. My pain's going to give way to tomorrow, whenever that tomorrow ends up being. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep exploring what's inside of me. To be honest with you, I don't think that if I had not checked in on my ingredients in the last 5 years, which I can tell you 5 years, therapy is something that I've done in the last year, but in the last 5 years is when I've really started to explore what's inside of me. Make it 10 years. In the last 10 years, because that 10 years is when my freedom began, when I began to contemplate forgiving my father. My freedom, my chains fell off when I began to really contemplate, to the point where I hear a story about him now and I'm just like, what did you expect? What do we expect? He's a malignant narcissist, and I'm not talking about like the other one that we've hear in the news a lot. I'm talking about one that was in my house that raised me, like every day. And was that every day of my childhood. But my freedom started when I started to explore what was inside of me. And so that's my encouragement for you. That's what I want to share. If it's therapy, I've only been in therapy for a year, but the things that I've learned in therapy have been giving me words to understand what's inside of me. But past that, I don't think therapy is the answer, but it's a tool. I don't think church is the answer, but it's a tool. I don't think that I know that God's the answer, and so your pursuit of God might not be the answer, but it is a tool. It's a tool to get to where you need to be healthy. And so there's just so many tools out there, and there's so many things, but I would say the majority of them, it starts with you. It starts with us. It starts with looking inside of us and really coming to terms with what's there, what's in your ingredients. What are you going to pass on to your friendships, your relationships, your kids? What's there? If you don't know what's there, you might just be passing it out. And here's the thing, worst case scenario, you do all this work and you're like, oh yeah, well, no, I really got nothing. If you can evaluate yourself and say, I got nothing wrong, nothing that I'm going to pass on, nothing comes out in my relationships, nothing negative that comes out in my day to day. I'm going to tell you right now, you're wrong. You're wrong. If you think you got it figured out, you're wrong. If you think you have yourself figured out, you're wrong. If you think that you don't need help from anybody else, you are wrong. And I can say that confidently. And here's the thing, and what I gotta say is probably not for you, because if you think that you don't need to explore or evaluate yourself, that says a whole lot already. That says it. And but God's been very clear to me. I speak to people who have ears to hear, eyes to see, and that's it. And that doesn't mean they're going to get it all. Doesn't mean they're going to hear it all. that means they're interested. That means that they don't have it figured out. That means that they don't exactly have it. They're not they might be totally crushing it at life and realize that there's still something that they have to work on inside of them. Because unless you're a perfect human being, and I only know of one that's ever walked the earth, if unless you're a perfect human being, you need to be exploring the ingredients that are inside of you. Period. This week, that's what for this week. This week. This is a weekly show. This is a daily show. And every single day, I don't know how it is. I start off and I'm like, I don't really exactly know what to say. And then somehow I'm 45 minutes in and still talking. So, anyways, good news and company. I'm going to put a link to our Discord. Now, Discord is a app that has that is used a lot in the streaming community right now, and it's funny because I've had people be like, "That's a stream, that's a gaming app. I don't want to hear anything about gaming apps." It's not. We're not using it for gaming. We're using it as a platform for communication, and I just love this way of organization. It's it's often one thing that I think has been really cool about using it so far is that it's a place for things to land. It's kind of like this. It's just kind of it's like Slack for. It's like Slack. Slack is like a commercial, a business, like a private business communications, internal communications app. So if you have a business, you have Slack. Everyone has a Slack channel. So instead of being on text message all day, they can text each other in groups. So if I have like 5 people on my team, I can text all of them at one time, and that's in that team. And then this is a all emergency or all call. Maybe the CEO pops in and says a message to everybody. This is kind of like that. But our topics are like general, which is like general channel notes or information. We have topics for live stream. So I'm going to add my friend Nena chimed in and actually asked to talk about rest. Now, not just rest that is that you need to be intentional about, but also forced rest, which is what strikes home for me. But I just wanted to do a little bit more research around it. So rest, and then so we have a place to add topics or request topics to be talked about on the show. We have scriptures and encouragement, and things that a bank. So hopefully one day you can scroll up 100 posts and just find more scriptures or encouragement in that space. Another one for prayer requests. And while I'm at it, the latest one that came in from a friend of mine about me saying, praying for healing and reduction in pain of pain in Joel's body. Healer, we know you can do a miraculous thing on this stage. Amen. And so amen to that. And I appreciate it, friend, for sending that. We have serving opportunities. Eventually that'll be coming up once the world opens up a little bit more and we can get out there some more. But praise reports, a place to just say, hey, man, God is good. This is what happened today, because I think that we need to do more of it and we need more testimony time. And then a place for quotes. But anyways, this is a resource that I'm going to be using, developing, and building over the course of the ministry. I'm putting it into our chat right now. If you want to join the Discord, just join it. It should be on it should be on the comment section or like the caption section of the post, and or in the comment section right here. So join our Discord. That's gonna be growing. I think that I feel like email lists and stuff like that are moving in a direction of like a Discord, something like that. So instead of being on an email list, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to get your notifications from or what you want to get notified about from organization. And so that's one thing that we'll be developing. But I'm going to pray for us real quick, and I'm going to go lay my butt down. Lord, thank you for 49 minutes and 23, 24, 25, 26 seconds of time and space to share. Thank you, God, that even as tired as I was and am today, and as I thank you for the dreams that I had last night, by the way. I thank you for the dreams that I can actually, like, even though they weren't real, the seeing me run around or walk around, like, and run errands was cool. It's cool to remember, and feel that. So thank you for that. Thank you for the show. Thank you for the time that people have spent here watching. Thank you for the people that are coming in the future to support this ministry. And we thank you so much for everything you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen. And that's what I got. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Always going to be here Monday through Friday, 1:30 is the start time. And, you know, it seems like God wants to do this for a little while. So I'm doing it. I'm showing up. As long as one other person shows up, we're good. And I've seen one other person comment a couple times here and there. So thank you for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And don't forget to share. You have it in you. You are enough. You have enough, and you're worthy. All right. Peace out.